Hello folks, and welcome back to video number 6 of us as a interable couple. And yeah, so we're going to get started today. Thank you again for joining us for video number 6. Got a few different topics we're going to go over. I had recently gotten back from a vacation that my parents and sisters went on to Utah, to the Canyonlands, and I had gone on that. When I got back, I met with Sue, and we went to my Uncle Dan's house for Easter. So I got back late Saturday night, and then met with Sue on Sunday morning for the 11 a.m. Mass. Then we headed over to my Uncle Dan's.
Actually, we headed back to my house.
You're right.
We headed back to a house, and we got a chance to interview a new refugee who told us more information about Father Joe Devlin, who is, for those of you who are new here, we are working on a book project about Patrick's great uncle, Father Joe, who is a missionary Jesuit priest who helped a bunch of Vietnamese refugees, specifically boat refugees, from Thailand in Sangka. So Father Joe had a really special love for just the refugees. He just had a heart for everyone. It didn't matter if someone needed help or, it didn't matter that, someone was Catholic or not. He helped everyone.
Just to really briefly cut in here, so the brother of Father Joe was Father Raymond, or Father Ray, and he wrote this book, Cha. And so that book is from the perspective of Father Joe's brother. The book that both myself and Sue are interviewing refugees for is going to be from the perspective of the people who Father Joe was ministering to, that is, the refugees escaping from the brutal life in Vietnam
the aftermath
post-war.
of the Vietnam War. I mean, my grandfather was also part of that war.
Yeah.
So he told us quite a bit, but back to Father Joe here.
Yeah.
And then I also wanted to dive into how we, I think I would also say that, I would say, because of Father Joe's intercession or work with the Vietnamese people, somehow God works things out in a very funny way because when Patrick met me, and I'm a full 99.9% Vietnamese with a bit of Melanesian. But the point here is that he loved the refugees, and
she means about 0.2% Melanesian or something
like that.
0.2%
Melanesian, but that's based on the 23andMe DNA test that I've took a couple months ago. But anyways, so this is somehow all related because we not only we've been dating 11 months now, and God has somehow orchestrated for us to I can see all sorts of signal graces, because when I first met Patrick, I did not know that he was related to Father Joe Devlin, who helped the Vietnamese refugees. And then I thought to myself, oh, I'm also Vietnamese, and my parents and my grandparents were in the Vietnam War or were victims of the Vietnam War. So they escaped Vietnam because the war was horrible. But anyways, because Father Joe had a very special love for the Vietnamese refugees, I'm guessing that maybe Father Joe must have interceded for Patrick to meet me with God's help. And I do attribute that to us or my prayers with the novenas and just trusting God and surrendering to God.
Yeah.
And then, did you want to mention?
I did want to also mention that, like, so Sue keeps mentioning people who didn't make it. There's actually this really interesting book here, The Pirates Off the Coast of Siam, which I've been also reading through to help get additional material for the book project. Like that book, I have to say, like that book, I had to take a week or two off of the sort of this project about writing about Father Joe, just because that book was so I don't know, depressing. It was, but I mean, it really goes to show the true, like, horrors that people were escaping from, and the sort of troubles and trials and tribulations that they experienced while fleeing from the horrors that were in Vietnam. So Father Joe really was I guess, like, shining beacon of light in the midst of, like, a bunch of just nightmares.
Yes. And those Vietnamese refugees that we got to interview, they actually called him a living saint. And he was being compared to Mother Teresa because for one thing, he had a special love for not only the refugees, but especially with those refugees who didn't have parents going with them. Some of them were orphans. Some of them lost their parents at sea, and some of them didn't even get to reunite with their family until very much later.
Or some of them didn't have any families.
Yes.
A lot of them didn't have any families.
A lot of them didn't have any families. So Father Joe definitely took a risk and helped out those people.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in Cha, like it mentioned that there were people would put, or like especially like the Viet Cong would put bounties on the head of Father Joe, just because they really did not like what he was doing. That was during the war, and then after the war, he was always in danger because he would be bringing money that was sent to him from overseas over to help the refugees and or like the sort of, not the pirates, the what would they be, like just robbers in Thailand would try to ambush him while he was riding his motorcycle.
Yes.
And at one point they actually beat him up so badly that they broke his leg, just because, like, he was riding a motorcycle. This is in the 1980s, like a motorcycle, and he had a backpack that had, like, close to $7,000 every single time he would ride by. So robbers...
They knew that he had money in there, so they tried to do anything to him to hurt him.
Yeah. But that didn't stop him from helping.
That didn't stop him from helping, yes.
I mean, I know for me, like, I don't know, I've never broken any bones, and so I don't know if I would have had the courage myself to continue after robbers, like, beat me up that badly. But it really is I guess a testament to the, I don't know, just
the kind of person Father Joe is.
Yeah.
He embodied what Jesus. Jesus' love and compassion and mercy for all those refugees, and I'm especially grateful because not only to Father Joe but to my own grandfather, who really sacrificed. He was in prison. He didn't go by boat, but technically all the Vietnamese refugees or immigrants, I would say, who have been through the Vietnam War, they would remember it, although some of them won't talk about it that much because there's so much trauma. But we wanted to write this book because we wanted to provide these stories as testament of, like, how awesome Father Joe is, and hopefully people who don't know about Father Joe will be able to read the book and, reflect on how he is an example of Jesus' compassion and mercy.
Yeah.
And this is how I would also want to follow his example. I mean, I would try. I mean, I do wish that he was still alive. If he was still alive, I would love to meet him.
Yeah.
But through the family stories, it's just fascinating at how the family history kind of brings us together somehow.
Yeah.
Like my one of my friends was saying how like she was just amazed at how like the Catholic War seems to bring us we're all Catholic connected in some ways.
Yeah.
So
I did also want to mention, at my Uncle Dan's house for Easter, my Aunt Regina said that Sue was very cute and tiny. And I guess this is as good as time as any to bring up that, also, I'm 6'9" tall. And, a fair amount of people have asked about that and if I played basketball. Yes, I did play basketball in high school, but I was not super good at it just because I grew so fast. Anyways, in addition to that, when both myself and Sue were doing the Easter egg hunt, so let me pause first just to explain what an adult Easter egg hunt is. The candy all gets put on the table, and then each person is tasked with finding one Easter egg, and inside each egg is a number. So I walked around the event with Sue holding my arm like this, because that way if Sue started stumbling, I'd be able to hold her here, and it would not only be safe for me, just because it's really easy to hold Sue like this, but it's also safe for Sue because she can brace her hand here, but also she's not going to hurt herself by staying upright. Whereas if I'm just holding Sue like this, firstly, both of our wrists can, get hurt, but also it's just a lot harder to help Sue stay upright. So that's just, I guess, something that I'm adding for the interabled dating sort of perspective of this channel. But anyways...
yeah, and then for the Easter egg hunt, after everybody found the eggs, he had number 13, and I thought my number was 16 until I realized that number 1 was really blurry, and Patrick's cousin has written I'd written something in that looked like a 1, so then that's why I thought it was a 16, but it turned out to be a 6, so that I thought that was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, you know how people put a line underneath a 6 so that people know it's not a 9? But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, his cousin had put a line underneath there. So I thought it was 16, but it turned out to be a 6.
And then briefly, I know our time is getting a little bit closer towards 15 minutes here. I just wanted to briefly touch on the serendipity of our meeting. So for instance, one of Sue's friends' mom was helped by Father Joe. He would give people money, as I mentioned earlier, at the refugee camps. And she needed some money while she was at the camps, just because if you recall, or you might not know, but at these refugee camps, the Thai sort of overseers of these camps were very, very corrupt. So the UN and various other organizations would provide food, but as one person pointed out that we interviewed, for instance, all the fish that was provided was all rotten, so they had to throw it all away. So people would have to buy food from the Thai sort of camp attendants or their sort of pals. And so when Vicky's mom, so that's Sue's friend, when she needed to buy stuff like food, that was a necessity. Otherwise they would just be eating rotten fish. That's these
that's
camps were not good places to be. So
yeah.
I mean, people were escaping from even worse places, but still, these are not modern refugee camps.
They either had rotten food, they were escaping and they don't know where to go. So there's a lot of risk involved in escaping.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, and then so now I'm dating Sue, also another one of the priests at the local parish that we've both been going to, Father Mon Tran. So he actually was at one of the refugee camps and served as an altar server for Father Joe when he was helping the refugees there. And he actually had not realized Father Joe was a Jesuit. And so once Father Mon was in training to join the Jesuits, he actually bumped into Father Joe when he was at the Jesuit Retirement Center in Los Gatos, California. So that was actually kind of an interesting little tidbit that we found.
And I did actually work for Father Mon when I was briefly for my undergrad. I was a student desk receptionist for campus ministry. That's the interreligious, besides serving students of Catholic faith, they also serve other students of religious faith. And Father Mon was one of the leaders of the Christian Life community. That's like small student groups that Father Mon put up just to help the students cultivate a prayer life. So I was fortunate to be able to know Father Mon before that, but I didn't know that Father Mon had a connection with Patrick's Father Joe. So that was definitely a God wink. Yes. Anything else?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to also briefly mention another thing we wanted to both mention is how our nightly prayers work. So Sue or I will, so like I'll call Sue or Sue will call me at like 7:30 or 9 p.m. because Sue gets off school pretty late some nights. And so we'll say 3 Hail Marys, 1 Our Father, 1 Memorare, 1 St. Michael prayer, and
1 Glory Be.
Yes.
And then I would say the Mary Endure of Knots, and then say our own intentions, and then we say good night, and then we just go on about our day. And that's how it's ever been since we started dating. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, anyways, folks, I don't want to take any more of your time, but thank you for watching along with this video to the end here. And
so, don't want to take anybody else's time here, but we'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned. Yeah. Oh, and don't forget to hit that subscribe, like button. Share with your friends, especially if you're finding anyone who's single, dating, or just wanting to know more about like our story.
Yes.
Yes.
Very cool. Well, thank you, folks. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.